In this video, we are going to learn how to create a class, how to create a function, how to create the class property, instances of the class, how to create the object. So basically, we are going to learn all of that. First, let's just think that you work in a company. In that company, you have an ID, right? ID could be a number, so it is an int. Let's say that you have a name and that name is known by the company. So you have two properties in the company. One is called ID, another one is called name. What do you do in a company? You work in the company, right? So we have that function called work because you work in a company, and you have one more function called eat, because whenever you are eating you are not working, and whenever you are working you are not eating. So it's basically as simple as that. So all of these two functions and these two properties, these two instances or members, all of this would be part of a class, right? So for that, what you wanted to have, you wanted to have a class. So what do we call that class? We call that class a company. So for that, we'll use class keyword, and after that name your company whatever you wanted to. For simplicity, I'm gonna just name company, and after that use curly brackets and open and close curly brackets. On the bottom, I'm going to just use these curly brackets in order to close that. So all of these properties are part of this class right now. So how can we access all of these properties in our application? We'll do that in a second, but first we have to think about null safety. So what is a null safety? I have told you like earlier, ID cannot be empty. It has to have some sort of a value. Like we have to provide a initial value that it cannot be empty. For that, for such a string, we have to give it name of employee or something, because it cannot be empty because null safety. So we don't want it to provide any value right now. So I'll remove all of these values right now. And I wanted to make it a promise to this code that later on I'm going to provide all of this value. So for that, we are going to use a keyword called late. We have made a promise that later on we are going to provide this value as ID and name. Application is happy right now. As you see, we don't have any sort of error right now. Now we wanted to access this company. Let me give you an example. How do we create an object? Why do we create an object? For example, let's just suppose that you have a name of John and people call you J for short. Basically, this is J. This J is your nickname and the actual name is John. So we wanted to call this company. For that, we wanted to have an object for that company. How do we create an object for that company? We call that object a variable. You can name anything you want. For simplicity, I'm going to just name this variable company1, and after that I have to provide the class name that I wanted to access along with parenthesis, and end the statement again with a semicolon. In JavaScript, whenever we are creating a new object, we have to use a new keyword. Here as well, we have to use a new, but if you skip it, it doesn't necessarily matter. I just wanted to show you that. So now I wanted to see all the properties of this company. So I cannot just directly access the class right now because we have created an object for that. So I have to use the object name, the nickname that we have created, just type it over here, and after that use the dot over here. As soon as I use the dot, I got all the properties which this class has. One is ID, second one is name, and third one is a function that we have. So for now, I wanted to give it a name. So the name could be my name, right? So I'll just give like my name right over here, and after that I wanted to provide another value as well, company1.id. So ID could be like 15 or so. So let's make it 16. So now I have provided all of these values. So I wanted to print out the value that we have given right over here. So as you notice something out, we have one int value and one string value. I have to convert this integer into a string in order to add two values. So we have a shortcut to use whenever we wanted to add two values which are completely different from one another. So let's just type a print function over here, and in over here we'll use double quotes, and after that we are going to use $sign along with brackets, curly brackets. In over here we are going to provide the first name because this is a set and we are having two sets in a string. So that's the reason we are using this string interpolation. So now in the second scenario, I wanted to have my ID number as well. So now we have successfully added two values. I'm going to end the statement again with a semicolon. Now I'm going to run the application. As you see over here, my name and my ID number is successfully printed. I wanted to see if I am working. So we have one function right over here. So if I wanted to call this function, all I have to do is just type the company nickname that I've created an object with, and after that use a work function that we have created and run this application in order to see, because we haven't provided anything over here. So let's provide some value over here. Print. We'll use string interpolation in a second, but first is working. We have given it some value in this work field. If I just hit run over here, as you see over here, Majid is working right now. So we wanted to have Majid before this. So how can we do that? Because this is a string and we wanted to have a string name over here. Our integer value doesn't necessarily matter. We are going to use a string interpolation once again, and after that, before this part, we are going to use this keyword along with the dot because we wanted to access this property over here. So that's the reason we are using this, and after that a dot along with the data type that we have. So if I run this right now, as you can see, Majid 16 is the number. Majid is working right now. So I wanted to see if Majid is not working. So let's just give a value over here. We have given each value some functionality to do. So now we wanted to create a condition where we wanted to see. So one more thing is that why do we create an object? This is one of the most important things that people do get confused with that. So this is your one employee that works in your company, right? So in a different scenario, you'll have some another person working for your company, right? So for that, you can just directly give this part, and after that replace this. Let's replace this. Let's delete that. In the second scenario, I'm gonna provide John, and in the field I'm gonna provide 17. If I run this right now, we are getting the same output as before. But if you notice something out, all the nicknames are pointing towards the same thing and the name is the same one. So because we wanted to access the first part, we cannot do that because it is part of a single nickname. So that's the reason the compiler will replace the new value whenever you provide. In the first scenario, we have provided the first value. In the second scenario, we have provided the second value. The compiler will always print the second value that you have provided. So how do we fix that? For that, we have to create a new object for that class. So for that, we are going to create a new object called company2, and in over here we are going to give company2 as well. And now we are going to have a new set of value which we can have any time that we wanted to access. Run right now. As you can see in the first scenario, is March is 16, and after that in the second scenario John 17. So if I use this print statement again, because we are trying to access this properties right over here, so I'll get this properties because we have created a new object, and now I'm able to get the part that I wanted to get because this is a separate object and we are accessing the properties for it. It's simple as that. How do we create an object and what are the uses of creating an object? You have understand it. So now what we wanted to do is that we wanted to see if Majid is having lunch, then he should not be working, right? For that, we wanted to create a condition. So how do we create that condition? It's simple. So for that, we are going to create a new variable and we are going to call is working. For now, we are going to call false, and after that in the statement is working is not part of any class or any properties. We have created this locally in our application and we wanted to check the condition because we have given the condition right over here. So for now, we are going to use if statement along with parenthesis and curly brackets. As you see, we have talked earlier, whenever you are using parenthesis, you need to give it a condition or certain parameters that the parenthesis have to follow. Is working to true. So we wanted to give a condition true over here. If it is true, if Majid is working, then we should print this work method over here. So how can we access that? For that, we are going to call our nickname company1 and after that dot and after that work method and end the statement again with a semicolon. So now the condition is false. So we have to create a condition for false as well. So now we are going to just copy paste that thing over here. In over here, we are going to give it a statement of false. If it is false, then he should be eating right now, right? So this condition is true because he's eating, he's not working. So now in the third scenario, what do we wanted to have? We wanted to have one more condition. So first is if and the second one is else if. So in the third scenario, we wanted to have else condition as well. So in the else condition, we don't have any parameters to follow. So we can go ahead directly and print out something that because we don't know if that condition is true or false or either is a null. So we don't know in that situation what the employee is doing. So we'll just simply type I don't know because we have this condition right over here. So in that first scenario, so I'll just zoom it out for you guys to understand it better. So in the first scenario is working is false. So that's the reason we are going to get this statement because we are going to check this statement if it is true or not. This is a false one. So he's eating right now. So let's just go over here and just run this application in order to see the output. So Majid is having lunch right now because this scenario, let's remove this part right now. But in .work, we have to remove that and run this application again. So Majid is having lunch right now because this condition is false right now. That's the reason we got this second part over here. If this condition is true, we'll get this first part over here. So we'll just make it true right now, save it, and I'm gonna run this. So Majid is working, condition is true. So now neither I'm gonna provide working is true or false. I'm just gonna run this application. So I don't know because we don't know if the condition is not null or not false. So we have that, we don't know, right? So this is how you basically create an object of any class, how to access the properties. If you have a bit of a doubt in this session, please go ahead and watch this video once again. So we'll move on to the another part, which is called static methods and why is it useful for us to learn it. Now we are going to talk about what is static members and static functions of a class. So for that, we are simply going to create a company name right now, which is going to be a string, and let's give this company name. So let's give whatever name that you wanted to give. For simplicity, I'm gonna just name Nefts, and after that in the statement again, we have created this company name. It is a string, so we have to give, if you wanted to create a static member, you have to give a static value first. So we are going to use a keyword called static first, and after that we wanted to use this company name in all the objects that we have created. So why is that we are using all this company name in all the objects? So we'll discuss that in a second. You have seen how do we call members of a class. It is really simple. You have give it a nickname, and after that you type the nickname, and after that dot. So in over here, if I try to do that, company one dot, as you can see, we don't have anything called company name over here. Why is that? Because you cannot access the static members with the help of the object that you have created. For that, you have to use the company name, and after that dot directly, and after that the company name that you wanted to have. Because this is a static member, you can directly access this with the help of class name directly. So now I wanted to change the name and give it a new name called Nefts. So we have changed the value which we have right over here, and now we wanted to print out this value right over here. How we can do that? It's simple, because we cannot access the static members through the object that we have created. We have to use the class directly. For that, we are going to use a string interpolation again, and in over here we are going to call the class directly, and after that dot, and after that company name. As simple as that. So I'm gonna just print out this right over here, and as you can see, we have changed the value and the value has been updated over here. So let's be honest over here, if you are using company name in every scenario, the company name will be final. So for that reason, we are going to make it a const, and no one will able to change that. So here we have that error. Let's remove this error, and now we have the original name that we have given it in the class. We have that value right over here, and now we wanted to have that value same value right over here for the object number 2 that we have created. So if I run this, as you can see, we have got the company name as well. So why is it important for us to know the static members? For example, we have created a new object and we have given it a new value. So it is taking around 12 bytes because we are initializing it by creating a new member. So same goes for this as well. So now when we create a static members, you know that this static members will be same for all the scenarios. So that's the reason you wanted to initialize it by only once, and after that you wanted to use it multiple times in the application. So it has been initialized one, and later on it is not gonna take any bytes. So that's the reason you use static members and static functions. So this is basically why we use these members. You can have static functions as well. So for that you have to type static, and this is a static one right now. So if you notice something out right over here, we have a static over here, and if you notice out something, we are having this error over here. Why is that? Because I've told you earlier, whenever you wanted to access the static member or a function of a class, you have to directly call the class name. So for that, we are going to call company.work, and after that, you can just run your application, and it will not give you any sort of error right now. Because this is how you, if you see this, we have this sort of error, just ignore that for now.